Hi, this is Sandy from Lightning Tools. I'm here with Brett again. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, feeling pretty refreshed after a week away.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw that you went to Cornwall. That looked really fantastic.
I did, yeah. So it was the north coast of Cornwall, right down towards the bottom,
Mm,
which is sort of out towards Land's End on
mm,
the north coast. And yeah,
mm,
we picked perhaps the best week we've had this year for weather.
mm.
So
Great.
yeah, it was really nice sunny weather and everything. So yeah, had a great time. Kids loved the beach and so on. So it's absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then
And
you came back and did computing, heard.
yeah. So it took us 7.5 hours to drive the 280 miles.
Jeez.
So that's towing a caravan. Um, but yeah, down to traffic and everything. So
Mm,
of course we still cannot really go abroad. There's just a few countries on our green list.
mm,
So everybody's vacationing all over the
mm,
UK, and
mm.
yeah, the number one hotspot is Cornwall. So so everybody kind of descended on Cornwall, and
Uh-huh.
and of course everybody's coming back from Cornwall as well.
Mm, mm.
So yeah, there was a lot of traffic, but it was nice that when we were there, we were actually in a very quiet spot.
Oh, nice.
And we were self-catering in our caravan, so we weren't in a hotel or a resort or anything like that. So it's fantastic. But yeah, the last couple of days have felt really rushed because we promised my sister that we would go to her barbecue. So we got home, literally put the caravan on the drive, and then turned around and went to her barbecue. Got home around about 10 o'clock, and then the very next morning I had to drive down to the National Computer Museum, or the National Museum of Computing rather, which is in Bletchley,
Mm,
and that's near Milton Keynes. So around about 50 miles away from where I live. But yeah, it was a fantastic day. So yeah, the museum we actually support as a sponsor. So some of the programs that they're doing, but I'm also involved as a volunteer. So this is my
cool.
my first time as a volunteer, which was quite exciting. So
Yeah.
so
And
yeah,
so what are you doing?
yeah. So yesterday. It's the Ambassador Kids program. So
Okay.
what they've put together is the ability for children. I think it's around sort of the age of 7 to 13 or thereabouts to learn how to code. So there's all sorts of different sessions that they offer. There's things like Scratch that they can do,
I'm
which if
not
you're not
familiar
familiar
with
with that,
that. No.
it's something that's taught a lot in schools over here.
Okay.
I think it's also in the US as well. But yeah, Scratch is basically you have yeah different characters or whatever you want to use as your main piece of the program you're writing. So it could be, a cat or a ghost
Okay.
or whatever, or a ball or whatever one. Or you can draw your own sort of yeah, a little bitmap or whatever, and you can set
Mm,
different backgrounds and things like that. But then you are effectively writing code against it. But the way that you write code is you drag and drop different blocks.
mm,
So there's like a forever loop or an if else loop and things like
mm,
that. So rather than actually writing the code, you're just saying, okay, I want an if statement. So you'll drag that from the
mhm,
available code onto your code window, and then it becomes like a jigsaw puzzle.
mm,
So you join these things together. So when
mm,
you drag a if statement across, yeah, of course it needs something to be dragged into the condition bit. So you drag over what your condition is and things like that.
mhm,
And yeah, you can create variables and different blocks and things like that. But basically, it's object-oriented programming,
mhm,
but they don't realize it. You're
mhm,
just dragging across all these things and creating a program.
mm.
So yeah, there's cool things that we did, like that there was a ghost game that I helped a 7-year-old kid build. So he had a ghost and he wanted it to hide if you clicked it and
Mm,
then show somewhere random. so so on the screen it was like appearing from behind a tree or something
ah,
like that, and we added to it. So we created a couple of variables, one for a score and one for lives. So we made it that if the ghost actually traveled on something that had the same color as it, then you would lose a life, and you'd have a couple of seconds to click it before that occurred. And if you
ah,
did, then you would earn a point. And so he created a little game, and he was excited about that.
cool.
So that's good. And yeah, some of them can do, Python, or they can do HTML and things like that. We're also playing with these things called microbits, which is basically like a little expansion card that you plug in to the USB slot, and it has an LED display on it, so you can just get it to do like smiley faces, or whatever you want to do. Some of them were doing like a dice, so they would create a routine so they could click start, and it would just pick a random number effectively and display that on the LED screen. But yeah, I was amazed at these two 11-year-olds. They both had their laptops, and they both had a microbit each, and they're actually using they wrote some JavaScript with a broadcast message and got their microbits to talk to each other over Wi-Fi. So that was really cool.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, some pretty advanced things going on with some of the kids. And
cool.
yeah, the last thing we did was something called a bolt. So it's a ball, and it's got like a little robot in there, and it's very similar to Scratch. You can give it a routine of things to do, so you can have it travel around. It can,
but it's a physical thing.
it's a physical thing. Yeah. So there's these balls like flying all over the place, and there was one lad, yeah, again fairly young, maybe 7 or 8, something like that, and a lot of people just got them to move and turn and spin. He got his to respond to his voice, so if he said go faster, it accelerated.
Oh, wow.
So we got it down the hall, and he kept telling it to go faster, and it was going faster and faster and faster. So that was cool. So yeah, it was a good fun day. But Lightning Tools, we've actually kind of made this happen a little bit. So they were able to offer some places to some limited numbers, because their finances and so on. So yeah, we've contributed to it to allow other children to come for free as opposed to paying to come. So
Nice.
yeah, that's the contribution that we've made this time, as well as my time as a volunteer. And last year we sponsored it as well, and that was specifically around supporting autism. So also helping children with autism learn, so if they had learning difficulties, but more about taking they're more sort of young adults and getting them coding and so on, so they can move into jobs. So one of the despite it being a computer museum, one of the actual restrictions was just the amount of hardware that they had, because most of the hardware is like ancient old. So yeah, we provided I forget how many Raspberry Pis. So they had the Raspberry Pi 400 kits, which was great. So they could all use those and start to write Python and HTML and things like that.
I've never actually played with one of those. Have you?
Yes, I bought one. I bought one just a few weeks ago. So that I could actually start to, in fact, there we go. There's my Raspberry Pi getting started book. So yeah, I bought one just so I could get myself familiar with it all. So yeah, I could help them as well.
Oh, that's cool. And how often will you do that? Go do the
So at the moment, it's once a month, but yeah, they may try and bring it down as frequently as every week, if they can get enough volunteers to help out, because you're not going to want to perhaps give up every single weekend. So
cool.
they're looking for volunteers as well.
That's a pretty neat place too. We had as a company had done a virtual tour there last December or something. I mean, sometime during pandemic. But yeah, it was really interesting to see all the history of computing and cryptography and things like that. Also, as I recall.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've got the Enigma machine, Colossus, and so on, all there, which you can go around and have a look at. And all of the street names around Bletchley are all sort of named Turing and
Oh, really?
things like that as you drive around. So, so yeah, it's
very cool.
Yeah, if you're interested, check it out. It's tnmoc.org. So
Okay. I'll put a link in the description.
Sounds great. Yeah, so so that was that. And
Awesome.
so yeah, we'll be doing some more advanced stuff next time I go down there.
Nice.
So, and so I guess whilst I've been away, we've been talking about some of the features of the Lightning Conductor, and last time we talked about the major new feature, which was about the Microsoft 365 group support, so you could query that. But yeah, you had another new feature that you wanted to mention, talk about.
Yep, sure. I did also just want to say we had a webinar. I mean, you did a webinar about mostly about the well, about Lightning Conductor in general, but also about the new Microsoft 365 group feature, and that went over really well. You had lots of good questions in that webinar, which is always nice. So I'll put a link to that recording in the description as well, because everybody might want to check that out. But basically, the other new feature in this release is that we're now supporting Excel-style expressions in JSON column formatting. So we have for a while allowed, well, of course, Lightning Conductor has its own column formatting, which you can do a lot with. So you can add icons and colors to the cells and have that all be conditional, have really advanced condition expressions without having to know any code. You just build that in the formatting wizard. But if you have some kind of formatting that somehow doesn't fall within what you can do in the, out of the box with Lightning Conductor, then you can do that with your own custom JSON. So we've had some customers do that where they had already built some custom JSON column formatting in SharePoint, and they wanted to use that in the Lightning Conductor on the aggregated content. And so they've been able to do that where it's just in case people are trying to find that, you can, if you go to the column formatting, there's a place like toward the bottom of the extra column formatting where you can add in your own JSON code. I guess that's code really is sort of code. But now we're also supporting the Excel-style expressions, which Microsoft also does. So instead of, for example, if you want to have a condition in there, in standard JSON, you would have to put like operator question mark for if, and then operator greater than, and then operand something, and put your values, and it gets to be all nested and maybe difficult for a non-developer to write and also understand. But now you can use the more Excel style expressions like if something and then a comma, whatever, and then a comma else. So just like you're used to doing in Excel. And so that just gives a little bit even more flexibility to what you can show in the Lightning Conductor. And of course, everything is kind of going to Excel style expressions. I mean, it's like PowerFX in Power Apps, it's all a lot of the same sort of thing. So Excel is ruling the world, I guess, eventually.
Fantastic. Yeah,
but
it takes
people
over everybody's financial systems.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I was reading an article about that recently, actually. I mean, it was kind of off of that snafu with the Excel problem in England. I forget exactly what it was. Yeah, where it actually was down to somebody
that was the
having the
limitations on
wrong
the number of
formula.
cells. Yeah. Well, I think it was a limitation in the
Yeah, that's right.
number of rows. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So they were storing the number of I don't know. Is that it was to do with the vaccinations or the
Right.
number of people testing positive,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it stopped going up for a while. They ran out of rows.
Right. Yeah. So it was a really interesting article because it was talking about how it is that Excel came to be so prevalent and required. But anyway, my point was that everybody is so used to that and that kind of expression editor that yeah, it's good to have that in lots of different things. And then just as a general principle, I just wanted to mention how flexible the Lightning Conductor is in whatever you want to be able to display, because then you can have your own custom views. Also, we've got some customers who've created a sort of card kind of views with their aggregated content, and then they can use the Lightning filters for people to filter those on the page using managed metadata. So just all kinds of possibilities of the whatever you're aggregating with the Lightning Conductor of how you want to display it.
That's fantastic. Well, I look forward to playing around with that features. Yeah, it sounds great. And yeah, like you said, just making it more possible to build the views that you need. And so
Yep.
Excellent. Well, that sounds good. And
Yeah,
so,
I think that's kind of a wrap on Lightning Conductor, probably.
yeah, and next month we've got a new release of Lightning Forms coming out.
Mhm,
So that's the modern form design tool. So you
mhm.
can build solutions in there. So yeah, look forward to next week telling you a little bit about some of the new features that are coming out. But yeah, you're going off on your holes as well, right?
Yes, it's a very small little holiday. Yeah, going to Napa, gonna drink some wine, things like that. Just kind of on my way out of California to Florida. Napa's on the way in a little bit.
Yeah. Kind of in the right direction.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But looking
Uh,
forward to that. Yep.
Sounds great. Well, I hope you have a great time, and
Thank you.
yeah, look forward to catching up for the next release of
Yep,
Lightning Chat.
indeed. All right.
All right.
See ya.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.